Okay, I want to say Hihani Washte. Good morning, Matakiapi. Good morning, relatives. Good to see you. I haven't been getting much sleep lately, so I got a phone call, so sorry about that. Hopefully they leave a message. My name is Michael. I'm from the Ihangtawan people. I am going to do a reading out of this book. I was just introduced to it a couple of weeks ago. It's called Spirit Wheel. And I guess I shouldn't do too much, I don't know, advertising. I don't know what the rules are. But it does say meditation from an Indigenous elder. So I'm going to do that. And it's going to be a random. It doesn't go by dates. So I'm just going to pick it up and I'm going to read from that, and then I'm just going to share. Relatives, if you're watching this on Facebook or if you're watching this on YouTube, I'm not going to edit none of this, so I'm not up to date. I don't keep track of all this technology. I don't have the skill set to edit, and I'm not really interested in edit. I want you to see, I want to experience the rawness and then sort of the spontaneity or the vulnerability even of just doing a video and not worrying about the editing phase. I know that maybe I might get a little bit wordy, so just please hang with me. Please like and share. Please, I hope that one thing you get out of these videos is that you feel a connection, because that's something that I'm looking for, and this goes with some of my long-term goals as long as my short-term goals. My short-term goals of doing things to live a balanced life. And one of them is spiritually, one of them is connection, and this to me helps with that. And I'm also going to issue the disclaimer as well that I am a recovering alcoholic and drug addict. I'm 30 years sober. And also, this is Lady Gaga. So just so you're wondering, I'm not a big Lady Gaga fan. I just like the t-shirt because I like the fit. And that's really, I mean, I think she's awesome and everything, but I don't know too much about her nor her music. And also issue the disclaimer that, again, that this is really on the spot. There is no preparation, none at all, other than the fact that I just got out of the shower. And I'm just getting started for the day. That's the only preparation. So let me go ahead and get started. I do like to smudge. I don't really feel comfortable with praying like in front of you right now, though I'm very comfortable typically with doing it in front of people. And that's sort of our Indigenous Native American way, is to do that, is to get to a point where we're able to share a prayer on behalf of our family or share with a group of people, and we usually do that very regularly. So I'm used to that, but just when it comes to my Facebook videos and my YouTube videos, I'm not. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that. We'll get started with the virtual smudge as a way of prayer. People typically say cleanse the negative or to bring in the positive and stuff like that. I'm not going to argue with that or anything like that, but I see it as more of a prayer. And yeah, it's been scientifically proven. I don't know, I can't quote those studies, that it does have some purification properties to it with the smoke, and certainly it has medicinal properties. So I do believe in all of that, but I also believe definitely that it is a form of prayer. Just smudging is a form of prayer, so we'll go ahead and do that. I'm sorry if you can't see that. I use sage that I pick personally and cedar that I pick personally, but a lot of people out there don't have access to those places where it is grown, so I always make sure that I share. Definitely make sure that I share. So I'll go ahead and get started. I'm just going to randomly pick a page out of this, and then I am going to put my finger on that page, because on each page there's short readings that you can share and read. And so I'm just going to do that, and then I'm just going to do this. So now you know what I just did. So this is what I'm going to read. I have no idea what it's going to say. Patterns. It says patterns. Patterns. Please give me the ability to comprehend. Spirit, to see the pattern without missing the detail. Help me understand the meaning of the complexity that surrounds me, not with facile answers, but with genuine integrity. Let me encounter my life. Let me be mindful of what I have to learn. With diligence, I will strive to free myself from assumptions. With joy, I will anticipate new discoveries. Give me a touch of your give me a touch of your deep wisdom. Spirit, and I will follow it like a sailor, looking up to read the stars. Oh man, this is going to be challenging because I'm used to reading out of this book. I've been reading out of this book for 7 years on live video, and I've been reading out of that book for even longer, and I'm new to this book. So it talks about patterns, and it's asking spirit. It's addressing spirit as kind of like how we would address a higher power, God, Tunkashala, Wakantika, Mauna, Wakanda, all different types of languages. There is a word that we use to identify, just like my name is Michael, but yet, you know, there's much more to me than just my name. And from what I understand, that there's much more, obviously, to you than just your name. There's much more to you than just the surface. There's much more to me than just the surface. And the challenge of that is not only personally, but also socially, spiritually, physically, emotionally, all different aspects that make us who we are. And it definitely is a challenge. It definitely has been a challenge for me throughout my life. Again, I will be very open about this. I own the fact, and I'm very proud of the fact, that I'm in recovery from drug and alcoholism, but this isn't an anti-drug or anti-drinking campaign. If you choose to drink, if you choose to recreationally use drugs, then hey, my hat's off to you. You know, whatever works for you. This is a non-judgment zone that we're creating. But if you do have problems with drugs and alcohol, feel free to reach out to me as well. But it is addressing that. It is asking Spirit to help us. It says, please give me the ability to comprehend. I like that in such a way because it does identify, like we can identify personally what we need in our lives at this moment. Like yesterday, I may have been good at comprehending. I may have been good at living in the moment or positivity, or I may have been good at these things that we term as being adding quality to our life. But we forget the fact that the struggle, that the conflict as well adds quality to our life. We just don't like when we're going through that. And relatives, I'm going to tell you right now that I am going through a lot of challenging times. Definitely. And so I'm just putting that out there, both personally and with my family. Definitely. And so that's what I like to do, is I like to make sure that I'm thinking about things that are spiritual in nature, because that is one aspect of what makes us who we are spiritually. They say, and I gotta agree with this, I'm not gonna come up on here and be like a yes man, and yes man, yes sir, I believe in everything. I disagree with a lot of things only because that's my right as a person. That's my that's part of my teachings. Okay, so what I say you might disagree with, and what I say you might agree with, and maybe tomorrow what I disagreed with before, I might eventually have some information that clears it up for me, or experience something and say, you know what, I think I'm going to rethink that. I think that I'm going to there's something to that sort of I can feel inside that maybe I need to learn. So I like the fact that it does It says patterns. And if I think about patterns, I'm thinking about patterns in my life, patterns of my thinking, patterns of my behavior, patterns of myself. And definitely, I like to do that. Some people will say you got to get over the past, forget about the past, it's over, it's in the done. To me, I disagree with that, because the past is a part of ourself, but it's our viewpoint and our perspective that changes about the past. In myself, I like to reflect on that, because when I think about the past, it allows me to make a real deep evaluation and assessment and think about where I am now. I like to think about the past and thinking about, okay, what played a part? Why is it that I struggle? Why is it that I'm also, this is one of my strengths. So it's real good to do both, because that creates balance in life. And I agree, because if you do dwell on the past, that's a whole nother thing. But these are English words, relatives. We typically, when we think of dwell, we typically bring a negative connotation to our experience in the now. So myself, I like to use different words. I like to reflect on the past. And sometimes I like to deeply reflect on the past. That's just what type of person I am. I'm not going to be somebody that I tried it for too long, seeking self-approval from other people. But I like to deeply reflect on the past, because I like to wonder about it. I mean, I wasn't alone in the past, so I like to remember memories. I like to remember times that bring me that brought sadness and brought conflict and brought even the negative emotions, even the difficult emotions. Why it is that I struggle with certain things on today. I think that's a really healthy way to do that, to make those self-evaluations and assessments on a regular basis. Because am I not living in the moment now if I'm doing that? Or you could say that I'm dwelling on the past. That's up for opinion. But myself, I'm doing that in the moment. And if I feel like this intuition that is rising within me, and it's associated with the past, and I can learn from it, then that establishes sort of they talk about patterns. They talk about, and I think that intuition is directly connected to the spiritual part of ourselves, myself. Because even though I may not like it, or I may have a negative connotation associated with dwelling or something like that, I believe that a lot of things happen for a reason. And I believe that we have to stay as learners. The reason we stay as learners is because we eventually become teachers. Like, you become a teacher. Like, say you're 8 years old, right? And you have a younger brother or sister that is 5 years old. You are teaching your 5-year-old not to touch the stove, or how to cross the street properly, or how to stay away from, or how to throw rocks, or how to cast a fishing pole, or maybe how to be a big brother or be a big sister. So we're always learners and we're always teachers. And so that brings good balance into life. And so the cool thing about readings like this is it invites like a higher power, a God, a relationship, or however it is that you believe. I like the term, personally, I like the term the grandmas and grandpas. And I don't limit it to just the grandmas and grandpas like your grandma, your grandpa, my grandma, my grandpa. I like to use that term traditionally in Lakota, Dakota, Oceti, Sakowin culture. Anybody that is of age can be referred to, and respectfully is referred to, as grandma or grandpa, whether we've never known them, whether we've never met them before. It's respectful in the old traditional way to address them as such. Now, just think about that. You know what I mean? Just think about when we choose to use different words, and when we sort of broaden our viewpoint on not only what we had before, and maybe we'll find out that there's more to this than what we thought. That there's more to this than what we thought. Because in the old days, if you were my age and I never met you, I might refer to you as brother or sister. In the old days, if I've never met you and we were the same age, I might refer to you as cousin. And so what does that man... I know when somebody refers to me as brother and I don't know them, or they say kola or koda or cousin, tahanshi, I feel really different. It really impacts me. Like, I feel different from that one moment prior to that moment that they did that. And it just does something inside to me. And so a lot of it, and would that not, if I decided to start using different languages, and if we're talking about patterns, would that not give that sort of gift, however you want to call it, the power, the gift, the awareness, to start to reestablish and develop and redevelop new patterns in my life? If all of a sudden I started hearing that more, and what if I started doing that? That's like a very subtle but noticeable change in language. And it's very purposeful. Like, I got to make an effort to do that, right? And so I think that is very, very positive. Because if I think about my past and I think about and reflect on my past, I know that in the past and even today, that there is something inside that really desires, like this spiritual desire, not just this materialistic desire or this cosmetically or desire or this, I can't think of the words, to know people and to let people know me on a very deep level. And of course that's led to heartbreak. That's one of the things that I'm going through now. I'm going through some heartbreak, both, in aspects of, romance. I'm a single guy, and it's very difficult. Being single, particularly if in what I do, and the fact that I don't drink, the fact that I, don't associate in bars, and things like that. So, but I'm not alone in that. I know that it is difficult for a lot of people. And so if you're single and you're having this desire to meet someone special, or you're struggling with that type of thing, you're not alone. You're not alone. I'm right there with you. And I believe that deep feeling for me has always been a part of my life. And so through that deep contemplation and soul searching and soul digging, I've been able to learn more about why it is that I struggle in certain aspects of my life. And that's not to put myself down or to shame myself as the pattern was before, but now I'm bringing spirit into it. Now I'm bringing some kind of belief, however you want to call it, in a higher power. I'm not doing it alone no more. Like, I'm bringing in different words that I didn't bring in before. And so what that does is, to me, that affects me emotionally, spiritually. Now, it might affect me in such a way as emotionally, I feel like I want to cry. And of course, we're taught as men that men don't cry. That's the way that I was taught. And it really stuck with me. And so that was something, and emotions are such a heavy duty part of ourselves, right, relatives? So in other words, I was really dehumanized. I had this pattern that I was really rooted and established into a soil of dehumanizing my own experience and also my own intuition, ignoring my own intuition that comes to us, that gifts us, that comes with us from birth, from the spirit world. When we come back from the spirit world, we make our journey back to this place in human form. And like that quote says, we're spiritual beings having a human experience. I absolutely believe that, because it acknowledges the fact that we are deeply spirit. We are spirit. I know this for a fact, relatives. Nobody can convince me otherwise. That's not something that I argue about. I respect the fact that people do question that, because there are a lot of things with spiritual world and with human experience that I question and that I will argue, and I will. And I'm not saying like argue, like yell, and though those things have happened in the past when it comes to those type of disagreements. But I know that for a fact, that we are spiritual beings having a human experience, without a doubt. But that doesn't make it necessarily easier for me. In fact, sometimes I wonder if it hasn't made it more difficult. So I'm going to stick to the reading. It says, help me to understand the complexity that surrounds me, how complex everything it is. Because we know that there has to be balance in life, right? We typically use the words like good and bad. What we don't understand, and from our cultural teachings, is that good and bad are English words, right? They're English words. One has a positive connotation to it, a positive meaning. We want more. We want that at all times. We want to stay that way. And the other ones we want to shy away from. We want to stay away from it, even if it's within ourselves. So we can develop this pattern of dehumanizing ourselves based upon the complexities of the environment of what we're learning. Myself, what I have retrained myself to do, I've identified that, and I've sought the traditional teachings to say that word bad enough is one that I don't like to use. I don't like to use that. Maybe if I'm saying I got bad breath or bad spelling or things like that, but when it comes to the deeper aspects of life, when I had this prior to this, I had this relationship with myself, and a lot of the language that I was using was very, very, like, literally abusive towards myself, because that was the pattern in the environment that I had been rooted down in, and I just uprooted myself and start to look for healthy soil, healthy environments to balance into to find, to search, to journey, to learn. And I did learn a lot from those unhealthy and from those bad places. I did learn a lot, and I'm very thankful. But now I don't really like to use that word, because that's a very damaging word. Because number one, I'll tell you this. From the very beginning of creation, we were taught that everything, even the spirits, even creation, has a negative and a positive side, because that's what balance is, right? That's what in harmony and out of harmony is. That's what good and bad is. That is clarity, conflict, sun, moon, down, up, hot, cold. We know that there's much more to hot and cold than in life. There is much more. There's so many variances. And besides, what might seem hot to me might be perfectly comfortable to you. Might be cold to me, might be just awesome to me. because I've had people come in my home and say it's freezing in here, and I'm like, really? I'm sorry. I was very comfortable. Let me make you feel more comfortable. I'm going to turn down the air conditioner, or I'm going to shut the window. So it's really very subjective to that person, and it's meant to be that way. But we have this pattern of expectations, and we can redo this. We can uproot these teachings, and I think it's really healthy to do that. And we can evaluate the impact that maybe these teachings, maybe this is some information that has been crisscrossed, the wires have been crisscrossed, and I've been given a very limited view on that. And when we bring spirit into that, when we bring that natural intuition that exists, the gifts that you bring into this world, and expand on that, we expand. Our intuition expands. It wasn't meant to be limited, relatives. But sometimes when we evaluate and we make that deep assessment of ourselves, we start to understand that, hey, like I need to really stretch my wings out a little bit more. I really need to do some things. And as long as, now if we look at patterns in our life, you want to kind of stop there. Sometimes then we follow up that conversation and we start to add on, but you should have known better. We start to really come down on ourselves. We just push play on this conversation that plays itself out in this cycle that is meant and has been learned and that we picked up. This like shame cycle that really limits us, that really sort of, we come down on ourselves. And then guess what? We start to feel more comfortable with people who come down on us too. We start to feel more comfortable within that conversation, wherever it's happening, whether it's inside our own mind or whether it's inside places or outside of ourselves where those type of conversations happen. And then we start to feel really alienated from those healthy spiritual conversations, and we really start to feel like I don't belong there because my conversation is different. No, that's the thing, is that you belong there. That is you. You are that spiritual side. You are that spiritual gift. It's just that you don't know that yet. And you don't have to be any sort of age. This age on this part of life is a human concept. It's a human concept. So those are the teachings that we know, and I've known, and I've experienced that myself, is you can have a deep awareness, a spiritual awareness, but see, those are the things that we use. We think in terms of spiritual as something that is to be obtained, something that is going to happen. And yes, that does happen. But the grandmas and grandpas have all along have been saying over and over and over and over again, and we're not getting it. We are spirit. We are the gift. And yes, there's gifts all around. It's just like when trees give fruit, we refer to them as gifts. When rain comes, we refer to that as a gift. So we identify that everything in every aspect outside of ourselves, but the one place where it's hidden that brings balance into our lives is the gift within. And we really limit that to good and bad. But that's where we are limited in this type of surface level approach to life. When we start to see the tough times, the hard times, and I know that's the most difficult thing that can possibly ever happen to us. And trust me, I struggle with it every day, relatives. But I know that I've come a long ways, and do I have a ways to go? Yes. But the bad side of me Remember that. Would you want me to be saying that? Honestly, does that really click with you? What other words can we use? The bad side of me was something that was rooted down from long ago. And there, I honestly am paying consequences for that now that I don't like. I don't like them. That's part of my heartbreak that I'm going through today, with deep relationships. But nonetheless, that is part of. Does that make me unusual? Does that make me worse? Does that make me better? Does that make me different? No. We all go through that. So that tells me, since we all go through that, what does that tell you? Patterns. Patterns. And so most people, because of that, sort of become restricted, sort of become have this yearning like we all do. And so that's why these type of conversations, I know seems like a one-way conversation, relatives. I don't really like that. That's why I would love for anybody to reach out. Anybody, whether I met you, whether I don't. I got a call yesterday from a guy, I can't remember where he's from, somewhere far away. And because I do put that out there, I do have an effort, shall I say, where a poster where I give out my phone number and I say, if you would like to contact me and talk, if you need somebody to talk to, if you're going through a hard time, I call it the Relatives in Recovery Support Line. And I'm the only volunteer. I created it. And so my number, and I know this is crazy, and you're welcome to text me. I'll take the good with the bad. If I get harassed, or I'll take it. But if somebody called me yesterday, they needed to talk. They said, I haven't even told my wife this, what I'm about to tell you now. And I can't repeat it because they didn't say, please share that. They were telling me something. They were sharing some very sacred information that they felt was sacred with me. And so my number is 605-491-0200. 605-491-0200. Because when that relative reached out to me, and I don't know him, but I've been in the same meetings, online meetings with him, and have heard him talk, have heard him share, kind of knew him a little bit, can't remember really what he looks like. No offense to him if he's watching this now. But so in other words, he reached out to me and he was calling me brother. And I was like, oh man, I needed to hear that. You know what I mean? And so in other words, he was reaching out for me as a resource. And guess what? I received the gift too. And so, man, I was like, thank you, thank you. That's just what I needed right now. Because I live alone, I live alone. I do need to keep track of the time. I am gonna be having a guest here. Oh shoot, I'm looking for the clock. I'm looking for my phone, right, relatives? And it's right here in front of me. I'll never forget the time when I was on the phone with somebody and I was so frustrated because I was running late. People were expecting me. It might have been some sort of event. I don't remember. And I was yelling. I was just, I can't find my phone. Anyways. So, I like this reading. It says, let me encounter life. Let me be mindful of what I have to learn. With diligence, I will strive. Sometimes I don't have the diligence, and that's all right. Sometimes I do. To free myself from assumptions. Sometimes I assume things. Sometimes I don't. Okay? I think it's really good to look at these words and to when I say, oh, I made an assumption, oh my God, I'm such a bad person, I'm so sorry, we can really overdo it. Like, if you were saying that to me, I would just want to, shake your hand and put my arm around you and say, hey, we're good. We're good. I do that too. I make assumptions too. I don't want you to feel alone in this. I don't want you to get carried away with that. You made an assumption. And hey, whatever happened, now thank you. Thank you for sharing that. Thank you for apologizing. Thank you for role modeling being a human being. You know what I'm saying? And that's directly correlated and intertwined with being a spiritual being. And then it says, with joy, I will anticipate new discoveries. Okay? Sometimes anticipating new discoveries is heartbreaking. I'm going through a new discovery now. I know I've said it time and time again, but that's the fact. That's what's really a part of my life. But also there's much more aspects to the day, too. The joy of new discoveries. Anticipating new discoveries. We already know this, but let's remind ourselves this. That we will have new discoveries, both within and without, right? We know that's going to happen. So despite the fact that I'm feeling a lot of loss of a relationship, the loss of somebody that I wanted to be close with, romantically, romantically. I'm feeling a lot of loss. I'm feeling a lot of sadness, man. I'm feeling a lot of regret. What can I say? You know, I'm doing some deep reflecting. I'm missing. But at the same time, it's difficult for me to anticipate new discoveries just because it's that time. It's the sacred time of a loss of a connection. You know what I mean? Of loss of a friend. Of conversation, of intimacy, of possibilities. You know what I mean? But I did discover more about myself throughout that, no doubt about that. I discovered some aspects of me, about who I am, no doubt about it. But am I going to shame myself? Maybe, because that can be a pattern too. That goes along with living life. But now, when I do that, I'm able to acknowledge that. I'm able to identify that, and I'm able to not go back into that old shame cycle that I used to do. That I'm not worthy. I'm not good enough. I'm not. But what I am going to do is I'm going to take a healthy aspect, but I'm not going to do it alone. I'm going to reflect with friendships, with other friends. I'm going to bring the Creator with it and say, man, and have that real, grandmas and grandpas, whatever it is that you want from me, I'm going to trust you. I'm going to ask for forgiveness if I did do something wrong. I'm typically going to ask for forgiveness, and I'm going to then be forgiveness. I'm going to be forgiveness. Give me a touch of your deep wisdom. That is within all of us. And we usually fall into the pattern with misbelief because we typically think of wisdom as IQ, as being smart. We usually measure ourselves based upon other people, based upon learned what wisdom is, what wisdom teaches us, how wisdom is measured. Okay, but in our culture, we know that children fresh into the world are deeply wise, right? We know that. We know that elders are deeply wise. But we forget that there's everything in between, all that living in between, right? We forget that we have deep wisdom within us, right? And just because of timing, just because of timing, I'm not going to go too far into that. And I will follow it like a sailor and looking up to read the stars. So I know as a youngster, I used to and I know this is pretty common, but again, we usually look outside of ourselves, and of course that connects us to the wonderment and the joy and the curiosity and even the deep yearning. I know when I used to look up at the stars, I used to have this deep yearning. Like the answer is out there somewhere. The mystery is out there somewhere. The joy, the shine, the darkness, the mystery, even the fear of the mystery is out there somewhere. It's way out there. The answer is out there somewhere. And the mystery, and granted, that's true. We know that. But we are connected to all of that. So in other words, the stars are looking at us in such a fascination, in such a wonderment, in such a joy, in such a honor, and see us as sacred, right? I mean, hey, that's what I believe. You're not going to convince me otherwise, relatives. You're not going to convince me otherwise. That the stars don't look upon us and feel that energy of us, because scientists have proven it, right? That energy exists in everything. And it's the same energy. It's the same energy. That's how they're finding out, because they learn about energy here. And so they're able to identify what energy looks like and sounds like. And so they're able to see it across the universe. It's the same energy within. So it's the same material within. They've identified it's the same material that exists in the deepest part of the universe, the deepest part of the oceans, the deepest part of ourselves. It's the same elements. It's the same material. So if all that physical, if that exists in the physical realm, from as far back from 13.6 billion years ago, from the beginning of time as we think that it is. Of course, time is a human concept, right? But time looks completely different in the spiritual world. Time is, we've been limited by a clock on the wall. Let's just put it that way, okay? We've been limited to say, well, I'm this age, I just should know that. That is the patterns that we've been established and we've been rooted in, and it's really very damaging. Somebody recently, basically, for the most part, said to me, you should know better, and then chose to be out of my life. And I'm like, I don't know better, because I've never been in this situation before. And according to time, etc. So they were going from a human concept, but from a spiritual concept, I could feel like that's like this deep feeling of, well, if I did know better, then you know what I mean? So that's why who we're around and the conversations that we are around and have can really limit us. And sometimes, man, we really need to go to a place where that conversation is much different. And then we feel ourselves expanding when we're encouraging each other. And I can have a conversation with you and I can say, yo, what's up with that? And we can really get honest. And when we have those kind of conversations, you really feel you're spiritual. You really, man, I've been going through a time too as well on another aspect of my life, relatives, where I got to be honest with you. I don't need to prove how tough I am. I did that most of my life. I can take care of myself. I'm the big tough guy, blah, 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 etc., 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 where I've been shedding a lot of tears. I've been shedding a lot of tears, and that's the God's honest truth, but that's appropriate for the situation. And I've been feeling my spirit expand. I don't like what's happening. I don't like it at all. Now, this isn't the romantic breakup, relatives. That's not what I'm talking about. But, like, it's raining now, right? It's raining now. So, do I need to explain it? Creation is having emotion right now. It's raining outside. I could turn the camera. And so for myself, I don't believe in this tough guy routine of that, Men don't cry because I'm not going to dehumanize myself in the old way that I used to. I've just made a choice. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to free myself and I'm going to fly. Because that's what it really feels like when you're expanding and you're letting yourself be human, when you're letting yourself also acknowledging the fact that you are a spiritual being. That's the main thing. We usually just say, I'm a human being, I'm a human being, I'm a human being. But doesn't that seem sort of, yeah, and I get it. It opens the door for compassion, for understanding, forgiveness. I'm a human being. I'm sorry. I'm a human being. I have human emotions, but that is very limited. We are spiritual beings and we have emotions. We are spiritual beings and we make mistakes. We are spiritual beings and we love each other. We are spiritual beings and we uplift each other. We are spiritual beings and we make mistakes. We are spiritual beings and we inspire. We are spiritual beings and we're relatives. We are spiritual beings, etc. Just add on to that. Reestablish new patterns with new language, with reflection on old patterns in old language, and myself, balance, bringing balance into life. I don't know about you, but I was really unhappy for a very long time. And today, not that I'm happy today, I'm a little bit tired. If I had a good nap, I would probably feel a little bit better. But with that, I'm probably going to let you go. I'm just going to say again, if you're watching from Facebook, please feel free to reach out to me. You know, again, my number is 605-491-0200. If you need somebody to talk to about something off with somebody, to pray with somebody, to soul search, to discuss, it's a two-way thing. I'll be doing that with you too. And feel yourself expand. Feel yourself let go of old things that you need to let go of in this moment, in this day. And whether you're watching from YouTube or not. And also, if you do have a problem with alcohol or drugs, and you're thinking about maybe you want to change that, please reach out to me too, because that's sort of, an effort that I'm doing. It's called Relatives in Recovery Support Line, and I'm looking for volunteers too, but hey, I've been doing it for I would say probably about a year, and I don't get very many phone calls, but when I do, I mean, hey, blow up my line. You know what I'm saying? I'd love the more phone calls, the better. But in the meantime, just please understand that you're a spiritual being, that you are the gift to creation. You are part of the gift, just as much as the fruit on the tree, or the tree that provides shade and oxygen, or the wind that brings us the warm winds from the south so the plants can grow, just like when the sun comes up and wakes everything up, the gift of the sun, the gift of the moon to bring us the shift as well, to bring night and day, the balance in life. You're as much an important piece to that as anybody that has ever existed and will ever exist. We're even. We're in balance, right? And so I just want to encourage you. I'm really thankful. Thank you for watching. This will go on YouTube, and for my Facebook friends, if you look at my profile, you'll see a lot of videos from 7 years ago when I started doing this. You're welcome to check them out. But 7 years ago, I'm much different. They say that nothing stays the same. And if what is that about a different man stepping in a different river? They're the same river, but because of the flow, it's different. Because of timelessness, I'll use it as timelessness, that I'm the different man than I was from 1 minute ago, from 1 second ago, 1 hour ago, because I've learned more, I've experienced more, that balance, that evolution, that we are all moving in much deeper, in different ways, whether we're slowing down, whether we're backing up, whether we're moving forward, whether we're going up, whether we're going down, we are radiating in all the directions because everything radiates. The human being thinks we can't see it, so it doesn't exist. The spiritual being says everything has life, everything radiates. So when that part of you opens up, that is natural. That is being a human being. That is being a spiritual being. That is what life. And when somebody tries to limit us by use of language or by use of, or doesn't forgive us, some people aren't going to forgive us. I don't like that. I would rather be forgiven. I'm a forgiving person, relatives. I'm a forgiving person. I am. I was taught how to be that. Whereas before, I didn't know about forgiveness. I thought it was a religious term, and I thought you had to be a priest or a nun to do those type of things. But myself, anyways, I'm going to go ahead and go. I could talk even for another half hour. Thank you for watching. I will put this up now. Please feel free to comment. Please feel free to share. Please feel free to reach out to me. That's the one thing. People are so afraid to reach out. So afraid. And when you are feeling that is a very sacred place of your spiritual place, that feeling of, remember, we have to redefine what bad is. We have to redefine, use different language. That's a sacred place of learning, of human, of spiritual being, of forgiveness, of struggle, of conflict, of bad, of good. You are as much a part of that as all of creation. And within that sacred space, please remember me. Please remember my family. All right. I'll see you later, relatives. Doksha. Okay.